Namaskar, friends. Today, I wanted to discuss with you the basis of forming fruitful, long lasting relationships, whether it be personal life or career relationships. So, a relationship implies an interaction between two partners who are competing and collaborating with each other for the greater good of both the individuals. So, with that in mind, let's dig into the two traits that are vital for forming long lasting, fruitful relationships. The first trait is assigning a purpose to your partner. By assigning a purpose, I mean giving them a task that you expect them to do. You can call it job description, you can call it the basic core expectation, and it should be something that is acceptable and welcomed by that other individual in the partnership. The second thing is you should have irrevocable, irreversible, immutable trust in that other individual. So not only you are validating that trust by constantly speaking of them highly and saying that I believe in you, I trust you, and I know you are capable of doing great things, encouraging, motivating them, but also believing yourself that they have the capability to do the job that you have assigned them to them. Now, why is it important for yourself to convince yourself that they are capable? Because mind is plastic. If you reinforce that information all the time that that individual is capable, in a way, you are throwing a wish in the nature that is imparting capability to the individual, and B, you are not acting in a hypocritical way, saying something and thinking something else. So to have the congruence between your mental body and your physical body, you have to believe in the individual. Otherwise, I would not try to form a relationship with an individual until I believe that they are capable of improving and they are capable of uh, interacting with me to build a relationship. So those two are the most important things: the ability to be assigned a task and the ability to have immutable trust in the individual. Because when we are doing these two, then we are building the character of the individual who is involved with us. Because subconsciously they are also, first of all, they feel better. All of us like to be trust. All of us like to believe that someone else has faith in us, and we don't want to shake their faith, and that is a big motivator for success. But also, you have assigned an identity to the individual by assigning them a task. And it is basically the flaw of nature that when we do something, we regard ourselves as the doer, whereas Gita clearly tells us prakrite kriyamarani gune karmani sarasha ahankar vimudatma kartaha miti manyate. The prakriti does all the activities, but the ahankar vimud atma, or the ego laden soul, believes itself to be the doer, and it starts to relish in it, in the sakam karma, and hence it is the patra or the receptor of the suffering and the pain that is inflicted from the karma bandhan associated with sakam karma. Also, you have to have the proper selection of the partner. Now, the proper selection of the partner is more nuanced because you have to know their basic nature, whether it is they are tamasic, sattvic, or rajasic. Now, it is important to know their basic nature, because if you try to assign an activity to an individual who is not having any ability or willingness to execute the activity, then they will not be a great partner. And no matter how much you trust, your trust will always be shaken off. So you have to find the right individual and tag them to the right activity. Example of that will be, if the individual is extremely rajasic, then you have to give them a creative project, like a project that is at the level of Manipura, ambitious creative project based on their talent set. If the individual is extremely tamasic, then you have to give them something that is repetitive and not very creative, because there has to be less of thinking and more of repetitious work that is involved in tamas. If the individual is sattvic, then they will have extremely creative bent of mind, but without the ability to have the physical portion done. So the extreme physicality or the physical labor will be done by the tamasic person. A good combination of creative inputs as well as physical labor will be executed by the rajasic individual and in a very rapid way. They cannot do slow changes. Whereas the sattvic person will have more patience, more perseverance, but they will not have the physical labor ability. They will have mostly ability to think and give you great bright ideas. Visionaries are sattvic, but the engineers who are kind of uh, preparing the plan together, they are rajasic. Whereas the construction laborers, menial jobs who are kind of putting the whole thing together, those individuals should be thought of as tamasic. So that is a good example of how in a company you will see there are some CEOs and visionaries, and then there are those engineers who are putting the vision into the paper, whereas there are these laborers who are putting the real plan out there. So if Elon Musk is visionary, then his designers, developers are the engineers, and then there are the factory workers who are putting the plan together. So at all these three levels, you have to find the right person for the right job. If you try to give a lot of menial job to the person who has these sattvic capabilities, it is not congruent to his spiritual advancement to be doing those. So that's why the relationship will fall. And the higher you go, the less tendency or the need to associate with other people's on a parallel level. It's like it's always lonely at the top of a pyramid. So the top people will either prefer to be by themselves or very few friends, because their mental acuity is not challenged or developing when they're interacting with individuals who are at the base of the pyramid, and hence it leads to their spiritual deterioration. So they will avoid in general a lot of limelight, a lot of propaganda, a lot of interaction with the masses, but they would still give speeches out to the masses, but they will not do one-to-one interaction because it's just not constructive to their growth. So to sum it, my friends, if you are trying to build a relationship, whether it is career relationship, whether it is a professional relationship or a personal relationship, it is important to select the partner by knowing their basic gunas, by knowing their basic prakriti. And once you have established what their basic prakriti is, you have to assign them a project congruent to their basic prakriti, tamasic, rajasic, or sattvic. And once you have assigned them the right a task which is also fruitful to you because you are being helped by them, and it is fruitful to them because they have been assigned the project that is helping them move along the path of gunas from tamas to rajas, from rajas to sattva, and sattva to gunatit. You are helping yourself and the other individual in moving synergistically towards the higher elevation, whether it be material prosperity or it would be spiritual advancement. And in the whole process, you have to have unshakable faith, unshakable trust in that individual, which you are constantly validating by words, encouragement, motivation, never trying to discourage them. Because when you discourage them, you are breaking their own faith, which is in the process of building. So you cannot start when a house is being built or the bricks are put together with the wet cement. You cannot start throwing water in it. You cannot start like dismantling the bricks, then the structure will fall apart. So while they themselves are in the formation phase, you have to just create accretion of praises and positive criticism, if any, very little criticism, mostly encouragement, because that shows your trust. I believe in you. I totally believe you can do this and you are great at this. I'm not saying this because you are with me. I'm just saying that because I see enormous talent in you. And this is just going to eventually show out to the world. When you say things like that, then they start believing in themselves and then they take more responsibility. Once they know that someone else is trusting them, they do a better job of carrying out the work that you have done. And over time, when you have this reputation, assignment of some activity and completion of the activity and reinforcement through faith and trust, all through the duration, there is buildup of a lot of reputation, reliability, and that brings resilience to the relationship. And over time, this compounding of the resilience will build like a brand like value. Like you trust certain brands, you trust Apple phones, you trust Tesla cars. So that trust factor comes from reinforcement of reliability, and this resilience that is built from reinforcement of reliability builds a brand value. So that will build a brand value to your relationship by innocent, repetitive compounding of the activity that you're doing, assigning the activity and trust through the process of execution of the activity until the activity is done. And that is a very beautiful way of building any relationship, whether it be a business relationship or a personal life relationship. Hope you like this video. Feel free to leave your comments below. Jai Shri Ram.